What's going on, guys? It's the Fantasy Hockey Expert here. We got some big news in the NHL recently. We heard Jack Hughes come out and talk about wanting to play with his brother Quinn at some point in their career. What could this mean? There's a lot of people taking the one extreme side of Quinn's going to go to New Jersey in a few years after his contract ends. There's also the side of they're going to wait till they're 30 plus, which would be a long ways away. We know Luke's the youngest brother, but could this be possible? I think a lot of people see Quinn possibly going to the Devils, but a lot of people also probably don't see Jack and Luke moving to Vancouver just due to the Canucks' success over the last 10 years. That being said, we're going to get into today's video of the Carolina Hurricanes and their 2025 to 2026 fantasy hockey value. I'm going to start the video off a little bit differently today before we get into our video. I'll be showing you guys a little hockey card of a new addition to the Carolina Hurricanes. This is a K'Andre Miller clear-cut hockey card. Clear-cut card from his days on the New York Rangers. So, big hockey card collector. If you guys are fans of hockey cards, definitely check out my Instagram that I run with my business partner, and that is at Sports Cards GTA. So if you guys collect hockey cards, football cards, check that out, and let's begin. We're going to go into the Hurricanes. They had a big off season. After what was a disastrous playoff run, again, we had a big Freddie versus Kochetkov kind of talk over who should have been the starter in the playoffs. There also was a big debate over what really went down with the Rantanen deal and much more. So let's get into it. Now, you look at this team and you look at these projected lines, they are very different than what they looked like last year. So our first line here, we have Ehlers with Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov. This is a line that I absolutely love. I think this is what they need. I think they need a big guy like Svechnikov kind of driving the power forward style there. I think he's got to be more physical now that he's been a little less injury prone in the last year or two. Ehlers is a guy who you're going to need the skill from and the speed from, but a bit less physicality. And you're going to need that classic Aho-esque type play at center. Now you look at the second line. We actually have Seth Jarvis running this second line. He's going to be playing alongside Taylor Hall and Jackson Blake. So you have two lines that are extremely young, filled with guys 29 and younger. And we haven't even gotten into their bottom six, which has guys like Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Jordan Staal. So we look at our top six here. This is where our fantasy value is going to be. Starting off at number one on our top three players, we have Seth Jarvis. He's going to be the most valuable player on the Canes. And it really comes down to one reason. He is going to be dual eligible for the season. So not only a centerman, but he's also a right winger. We know that from last year. Having this dual eligibility allows him to take draws, get you some face-off wins if you're in a face-off league, but also be that winger that can run the power play. He's going to be on PP1, so he's going to be playing with Aho and Svechnikov despite being on the second line. He had a great year last year, and that's why the NHL Fantasy does rank him above our other two players. Let's get into number two here. We have Sebastian Aho. He is honestly quite possibly a top 10 center, but a lot of people, I think, forget how good he is just because the Canes have had a lot of kind of playoff trouble recently. Now, with Sebastian Aho, you're looking at a big assist guy, a guy who's going to score you probably 25 plus goals. He has not reached the 90 or 100 point mark, but he did have a really good year last year. I believe it was a career year. And he's always going to be playing with elite players around him. So whether or not you're going to have a young guy maybe beside him at one point, like a Bradley Nadeau or a Jackson Blake, the other winger is always going to be a guy like Svechnikov or Ehlers. So he's always going to be placed with good players. He's always going to be PP1, and he's pretty much always going to be creating the offense for that team, unless you're seeing PP2 out there. So that is our second best player on the roster. And to go into our third best player, it's going to be Andrei Svechnikov, who may have dual eligibility. We're going to see about that. I believe it will be left wing, right wing, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Svechnikov is a top 10, call it power forward when it comes to fantasy hockey. And the reason is because he does like to lay the body low. He does have good shot volume. He's one of the weird cases where he actually broke out at, call it 19, 20 years old. So anyone who remembers Svechnikov's rookie season, he was actually pretty close to winning the Calder. He had a really good year, call it, 65, 70 points. And after that, he just wasn't able to top that. Doesn't mean he got worse or anything. He just kind of didn't necessarily improve his point production. But again, he's improved his game, no doubt. We see that in his physical play. He's going to put up penalty minutes if you're in a penalty minute league. Personally, most of my leagues have removed penalty minutes, so that is a big suggestion I have for you guys. If you're playing fantasy hockey, do not add penalty minutes because it's a bit of a make or break, and a lot of the time it's gonna mean you're adding goons on Saturday night for Sunday, and not really what you want to do. Another category I would recommend you guys do not use is plus minus. What this is going to do is it's going to add a ton of value to top tier teams such as the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Dallas Stars, and it's going to pretty much plummet the value of elite young centermen like Macklin Celebrini or Leo Carlson. It's just going to plummet the value of those guys. So if you want to have rosters that are niched and pretty much full of young talent, then you're going to need to take guys who might be minus 41 like Mason Lohrei last year. So that's just a diss to my Bruins defenseman as I'm a Bruins fan. But anyways, now that we've gone over top 3 players, I'm going to go into our sleeper picks for this team. Now, I have not mentioned the defense on this team yet. You did see the Keandre Miller introduction that I did make. I think that Keandre Miller is going to be the sleeper on defense for this team. He's a big body, doesn't just throw the body, but he actually does jump up in the rush. So while he's not the most gifted or talented, Keandre Miller's going to get you those assists, those bit of shot blocks, a lot of shots on goal for a guy not running the top power play. That's what you'll notice. He's not going to be up there with a guy like Gostisbehere or Slavin, but he is going to get you that cross-category coverage in a sense when you want that third, fourth, maybe fifth D-man. So he's a bit of a sleeper just in terms of being, only 23, 24 years old, being on a new team. I'm not a huge fan of Gostisbehere anyway, so I think that Keandre Miller does have a spot possibly on the top power play by the end of the season. With that being said, there's no other big sleeper. There is a bit of a breakout candidate in Alexander Nikishin, but I think that Nikishin's going to take a very defensive role for this Canes team just to show what he's worth and to show that he does have a spot on that in the top 4 of that Canes team. Moving on to goaltending, you're going to want to avoid drafting Frederik Andersen for the pure reason of injuries and being injury prone. He's old. There's no real upside in drafting Freddie. The only real reason I could see is if you'd like a tandem of Kochetkov and Andersen. So if you can get Freddie Andersen as a free agent or in the last few rounds, go ahead. This would just solidify your 82 starts. But that being said, again, no upside. If you're going to draft Kochetkov, we can see why, but just remember that he's limited when it comes to starts, especially back-to-backs. This game team loves to run kind of both goalies, and we also have Dustin Tokarski in the minors who you could bring up. So with this all being said, you don't really have any other big sleepers with this young team. Jackson Blake's a guy who now has his name out there, so people will be drafting him kind of in those late rounds. But with the offense being so stacked, you're not going to see a ton of upside. With a guy like Nick Ehlers, you saw what happened when he played with the elite players last year and the year before. So you kind of are expecting that similar, call it 69, 70 point performance from Ehlers. And you're not really going to see much more as that Canes team is just full of depth, right? They're not relying on 3 stars. They're relying on depth. And overall, I think this team could go far. But again, I'm still a little rattled with the way that Brendan Moore handled the Rantanen situation. So I'm not a Canes fan, and I'm not a bit of a Canes advocate, to say the least, but I did really enjoy making this video. If you guys play fantasy hockey, please subscribe. We're doing our 32 and 32. We're going live on TikTok before the season starts. We're going to be reviewing our drafts. We'll do mock drafts, breakout candidates, and bust candidates as well, guys that you do not want to draft. And most importantly, we're going to do our top 5 must-draft players starting very soon. So like, follow, subscribe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.